Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another video for Wild Hearts. And today I want to talk about a new trailer they just dropped. We're going to look at the Golden Tempest, which is a really cool looking monster. A monster that is definitely somewhat reminiscent of Shara-Ishvalda, of course based on mainly the tendrils that's coming out of his body, but of course otherwise it is very different. It's a saber-toothed tiger, but this is a new monster, or a new Kemono should I say, that we haven't seen before. And more importantly, in this video not only are they fighting it so we get a chance to just sort of see some good gameplay, not one of those sort of trailers where they mix CG with tiny bits of gameplay, we actually get to see the whole hunt, or at least a segment of the hunt for demonstration purposes, but they are also using new weapons. We get a look at the claw blade, we also get a look at the cannon later on, and also the staff towards the end of it. So in this video, I thought we'd quickly go through, I'd make a few comments on some of the stuff that we see, some of the sort of weapons, the sort of behaviour, and kind of just break down everything that is exciting. So if you guys do enjoy this, a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, and of course let me know what you guys think of this latest gameplay. So if we jump back to the sort of very beginning, this is when they first introduced the claw blade. This is the first time we've seen or heard about this weapon, and it definitely is really interesting because of course, you know, from the sort of initial impressions, you've kind of got a dual blade style setup. You've kind of got things in each hand, but this is also not the dual blades we saw from the original trailer because that is actually part of the staff. This one, however, is very different. It appears to have one portion of the weapon that actually attaches a cable of sorts to the monster, or to the Kemono, which of course is really useful because then it allows you to stay hyper aggressive and stay basically attached to the monster. From sort of what we saw, especially even when it leaps into the sky, it appears to give you a means to basically just pull yourself in, continue those combos. So while it sort of, you know, it might not necessarily be as heavy hitting as other weapons, it does appear to be one of those ones that'll be good at sort of racking up consistent hits and, you know, maybe later on factoring in elements or other things like that. But I do definitely like the, you know, sort of chain ability to tie yourself to the Kemono. Definitely want to sort of see what happens when, you know, you max out the meters and stuff like that. But initially, that was really cool. Also, just seeing the weapons fly around using that copter, which is one of the Karakuri, that is definitely a really, really cool sort of feature. Especially when you factor in the cannon, which of course they switched over to next, which seeing yourself just being able to fly around the sky and just, you know, rain down explosive bullets, definitely looking super cool. But this weapon is actually really interesting because, you know, typically I'm not a gunner in these types of games, and this is definitely sort of quite reminiscent of the heavy bowgun from Monster Hunter, but it does appear to have some rather unique mechanics. Of course, you sort of saw these glowing spots on the ground, and you then sort of saw that as the hunter specifically tried to sort of position themselves in that pit, they were then able to basically power up their gun because it then had sort of a glow around the outside, and they were then basically able to go into a combination between like Spartan laser meets rocket launcher for some meaty, hefty explosion. Also, the other thing that this weapon can do is, again, quite reminiscent of Monster Hunter. You can fire down a volley shot, which of course allows you to rain down damage from above. But when you actually pay attention to the meters as the hunter is using this weapon, you can see you have the sort of long blue meter, which you can effectively liken as your ammo. It depletes every time you take a shot, but it is worth noting when the hunter stands in one of those glowing pits, that effectively replenishes that. So if you stay firing from within that, you can effectively, I would assume, have infinite ammo. However, on top of that, there is another meter which I assume is kind of linked to some of the bigger, heavier charge attacks, and there are some additional sort of dots to the side. Again, until we actually get to test these out ourselves, I won't know exactly what these are for, but it definitely does look like for this weapon, you want to focus around sort of, you know, firing off your shots, placing down those glows on the ground, because of course that will allow you to fire with effectively infinite ammo. Then where possible, standing those to power up that weapon, and then of course that does give you access to when you can effectively switch the gun from being under your arm to on your shoulder, and that is when you can break out the Spartan laser slash rocket launcher, which is insane. It's also kind of cool to see that even when you do charge up the gun or sort of you know, get that glowing state, you can sheath it, you can of course run around, and then you can draw back into it later on. Also worth noting, in that situation, you can revive down teammates, which is super cool because this game does still work around the system whereby if you die 3 times or you caught 3 times, it is a fail, but it is good to know that when your teammates go down, it is not an instant death. You can of course get them back up. But then we're on to another really interesting weapon. Now this weapon is one that, again, in my sort of hands-on time, I have not had a chance to test out, but it is very, very unique because this is called the Karakuri Staff, and we've seen this in a few different trailers in different forms. When you first sort of saw way back when the sort of hunter jumped in with dual blades, that was a form of the staff. The staff also can seemingly turn into the shuriken. It can also be a staff, and as we've sort of seen from the intro to this clip, it can also be a weird massive greatsword. So this seems to be like the ultimate transforming weapon. This is Wild Hearts' switch axe slash charge blade slash transforming specialist, and it looks really cool. The staff, of course, has decent range, sort of a, you know, medium speed attacks, but then seemingly once your meter is charged up, you can just pull out this huge, like, it literally looks like a greatsword. But it's worth noting this is different to the greatsword that does actually exist in the game. So this one is probably, of all the weapons I've seen so far, my most anticipated, most sort of intriguing one that I want to test out. And of course then finish up the fight, go into the takedown, and then they wrap it up. But that is pretty much it. Of course, it was a super cut gameplay, but it was nice to sort of see some new weapons in action with a new Kemono in a new area, and of course see some stuff we have not seen before. So for the time being, that is it. Little rundown on the latest trailer. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Even if you guys have got any more questions. And of course, do be sure to keep it locked for plenty more. The team will of course be giving you guys plenty of Wild Hearts coverage when the game launches. So until then, if you missed any of our recent videos, you can check out one of these ones on screen. And otherwise, keep it locked for plenty more.